as he said, my name is Catherine Clifton. I'm a GIS analyst for Davidson County. And the Environmental Health Department approached the GIS division for assistance in performing data collection in September of 2022. So this was new ground, as GIS staff really knew very little about the data and attributes that environmental health needed to collect. And while environmental health staff were users of GIS, they weren't fluent in the language of geodatabases and geodatabase design and other technical GIS jargon. So with a mutual respect for each other's knowledge base, then we started off on this project. Tony?
So I'm Tony Williams. I'm the Environmental Health Supervisor with Davidson County. And like Kat just mentioned, you won't hear any GIS technical jargon from me today. So there was a number of challenges when I first got there. First, we had older equipment. We were using the Trimble units, and sometimes we had issues with the screens going blank, having to reset the devices. The equipment was old. It suffered with issues, overheating and reduced battery life. I had new staff. They were all young and enthusiastic. However, and they were using GIS technology. They were just had limited experience in the field. And then probably the hardest thing about all this was a backlog of requests. So there was an uptick of those requests within the department, coupled with the loss of a few key members of our department, and it led to a backlog of requests. 6 months by the time I had arrived, and with more requests coming each day. And then finally, quality assurance. Final inspections, we often will go out and do a septic inspection on the installation of the septic system. So data files have been historically aggregated into a centralized database, but instead saved with each application. So what was tough sometimes was tracking down the original file, putting it back onto the GPS unit, and then being able to have that with you in the field.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't throw in a map and a thank you to those who helped us along the way in this project. GIS staff at Alamance County were prompt to respond to emails and phone calls about their database structure and their workflow. And a chance opportunity to attend a session by Florence County GIS staff in South Carolina at a virtual North Carolina ArcGIS Users Group conference meant the discovery of the screening widget within Web App Builder. So if you haven't experienced the screening widget, go check it out. And finally, Esri staff in the Charlotte Regional Office, as well as Redlands, responded to a variety of emails and phone calls, and to all of them, we owe a really big thank you. So we received a copy of the Alamance Geodatabase from Alamance County GIS staff with a subset of data just for ease of use in understanding what the various fields were and how they utilized them. And we've used a tool called X-Ray for our catalog to generate a data dictionary from the XML schema to more easily see the variety of feature classes that were in use, their associated fields, the domains applied to them. And I should note that this tool is still only currently available for use in the ArcCatalog or ArcMap environment, not ArcGIS Pro. So if you're interested in having a tool like this in ArcGIS Pro, I suggest you go out to ArcGIS Ideas and find that, and we'll go from there. So I reached out to GIS staff in Florence County, South Carolina, again, following that excellent presentation that he provided at the North Carolina ArcGIS Users Group Conference. And he had built an app in Web App Builder using the screening widget to generate reports. And it's very simple. You select a feature on the map, and other features that are coincident to that selected feature are included in a report. Easy to use. So I took this one step further and accessed some arcade expressions in the Data Visualization tab of the hosted feature layer within ArcGIS Online to concatenate fields and so forth that could then be used in the report. So I'd love to say that the design process was a linear one. Instead, it was more of a feedback loop along the way. In the end, though, I believe that made for a much better end product. We started our design with an idea of what types of maps and reports environmental health wanted to generate from the data collected, beginning with the end in mind. And as mentioned previously, we looked at others' implementations and then determined what needed to be added or subtracted or modified in order to best meet the needs of Davidson County. Throughout this review of the database design, there was feedback from the environmental health team, and this was truly one of the most valuable steps along the way. So once the database design was fairly well standardized, staff went out in the field to test data collection. There were some additional tweaks that needed to be made along the way, but all in all, our hard work at the very beginning made the implementation much easier. We then reviewed, again, local and state forms in order to complete the design for the various reports, and the report was designed within ArcGIS Pro. To make it simpler for environmental health staff who were new to ArcGIS Pro, a Python script and a custom toolbar was created for generating reports. And we'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay. So, like we said, this project started in September of 2022. Field data collection using Trimble equipment dates back to approximately 2015 in count. So during the months of November and December, environmental health staff had the opportunity to field test a Juniper GeoGNS2. It was a lightweight, easy-to-use sub-meter GPS device. And as you can see in the image here, when connected to a smartphone tray in my Android phone, the footprint is very similar to our older devices.
So with the initial data design out of the way, the next steps took place in ArcGIS Pro and later in ArcGIS Online. Feature classes were symbolized in ArcGIS Pro so that they could be configured properly for feature templates in FieldMaps. And feature classes were published individually so that if tweaks needed to be made to any part of the schema during the design and testing phases, they could be easily done and then the hosted feature layers overwritten. Two groups were defined within the ArcGIS Online environment for environmental health, one for environmental health data collectors, and then another group for super users who were given additional editing privileges, specifically the ability to delete features. That's a concern of mine. We want to tighten that down to make sure not just anyone can delete features on the map. So two maps were created within the ArcGIS Pro project, one named Report Map, which is used for the standard users, and another called Super User Map. Finally, a custom toolbox was created to contain a Python script for generating reports. And when creating a project package for distributing this ArcGIS Pro project to others, this custom toolbox was included as an additional file. And if you've gotten into project packages, then you'll see that option to add additional files there. So with the data published, it was now time to switch over to ArcGIS Online for further customization. Views were created of the published hosted feature layers to control editing and deletion permissions, and arcade expressions were created to concatenate fields for pop-ups and reports, and other data visualization techniques were employed, such as tweaks for labeling, scale dependencies, etc., all to make a nice user interface. A web map was created to contain all of this data, 15 different hosted feature classes for use in FieldMaps, and right now, Web App Builder. So taking the extra time in Pro to define the symbology for use as feature templates provides a much better experience for the end user, the data collector. And the extra work to define domains or pick lists for as many fields as possible up front improves the quality of the data that's collected in FieldMaps. So now I'd like to take just a moment to show you the information available to environmental health staff in the ArcGIS Web App viewer. Staff can easily find an address or place by using the ArcGIS Online World Geocoder in the search box at the top, or they can dig down a little deeper into specifically Davidson County GIS data by searching on the different individual layers such as addresses and streets and parcels. And this is an interface that they're already familiar with from the address and street lookup application. And thanks to Map Forsyth for the design elements here. We love their application, so utilized it for ours as well. As staff zoom into a particular location, then additional data is made available. And in this case, you can see the septic system lines, those are the purple ones, and the building corner points for a new subdivision that's being built in the western part of the county. So within ArcGIS Pro, the data looks and feels the same because staff are using the hosted feature layers from ArcGIS Online. All of the GIS users can add features and edit existing features, and super users can perform deletions. Within ArcGIS Pro is the custom toolbar that was developed for staff. The first two buttons on this toolbar, select features and locate, are simply commands that are available elsewhere within ArcGIS Pro, but they're placed here just for ease of use for staff. And finally, the generate report button runs a custom Python script that was developed for this project. The only requirement for a report to be generated is that a parcel must be selected. We've made it that simple. Based on the selected parcel and the scale of the map, environmental health staff can enter the name of the report file and its location by browsing to the folder where they'd like to have it stored, and they may specify a map title other than the default, which is Site Sketch. The map layout, the parcel report, the soil area report, and the soil profile reports are all generated and then combined into one single multi-page PDF and saved as specified. An ArcGIS Hub page was also created for environmental health staff as a very nice centralized place for a variety of things. They have links to the field worker application that they utilize on their devices, as well as the data viewer map. Some very basic data collection statistics are displayed, just counts of different features, and links to other important documents such as the user manual for the Juniper Geode, et cetera, are there. And finally, training materials are readily available to staff. So whatever we've covered in PDF format is available for them, as well as the most recent project package from ArcGIS Pro. Literally everything on the same page for individuals here. Okay.
Okay, so as you can see here, this is my very young staff. With the exception of myself, everyone here has less than 3 years of experience. So having come from a county where we were just beginning to scratch the surface of what GIS could do, I was excited to start fresh with new staff and new technology when the opportunity provided itself. Not to mention an extremely capable GIS department that has supported this project all along the way. It will be interesting to see how this solution evolves over the next few months and years. Long term, one of the most practical benefits I can see using this software is building our database of private well locations within the county, which from a public health perspective just helps us to protect those drinking water sources and the aquifers that they come from. So, with anything, there's some challenges and some bright points. So far what we've encountered is the quick and easy reports that we have to be able to generate. We have to provide soil reports. We also have to generate maps that show where the septic system installations need to go. So this has been made very easy to us using ArcGIS Pro. It's improved our accuracy using sub-meter accurate equipment. Then we're able to get us the accuracy that we need for what we're attempting to do. And then just the consistency in data collection. So we're using the FieldMaps app, which, you know, with naming everything the same and producing maps with all the same information and on the legend, then that really helps us to make sure we're all being consistent within our department. And then just coordinated efforts. All of us are working cooperatively. We can see what each other is doing at the different lots that we have to do our soil evaluations on, and it reduces our liability. One of the big things is when we go out to do a septic final inspection on a septic installation, there's specific areas where that septic system has to go on the lot. And we may have done that evaluation years ago because our permits are good for 5 years. So it's an easy way for us to have so that we can get right back to the exact location where that contractor was supposed to install the septic system. And then just some challenges along the way have been supply chain issues. When we first ordered the geodes, you know, we thought it was going to be 2 to 4 weeks before we got it, and it ended up being more like 2 to 3 months before we got them. And, you know, with new technology, there's just some growing pains. We've been using the initial setup. There's a GeoConnect app, but we discovered that you can't run the GeoConnect app and FieldMaps at the same time because they compete for the same GPS receivers. So we had to work through that. And then just some connectivity issues along the way. So we are excited with the progress that we've made in just a few months and have some exciting plans for the future.
Very quickly, we're looking at our centralized permitting software, which is OpenGov, to identify what applications need to be extracted and published within ArcGIS Online so that we can better understand the number of permit applications that are in the queue, et cetera. We're also looking at utilizing our custom report with the screening widget as opposed to the one that is standard. We'd like to be able to do that. And Tony, I'll take this in terms of after we've had several months worth of data, we're looking at a dashboard to track statistics on what's been collected. But first we want to begin by asking what questions, metrics and statistics and so forth make sense for us to be tracking. So we'll end with this in that this quote from Steve Jobs: "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, so love what you do. Your time is limited. Don't waste it." This project is an excellent example of why I chose to go into GIS. It can be used to turn good ideas into solutions that improve processes, increase efficiencies, and provide a common platform for staff. And at this time, we'll be happy to take any questions. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you asked about users and super users. So users and super users, those are different groups within the ArcGIS Online environment. And each individual within environmental health has a ArcGIS Pro license and therefore a license to utilize in ArcGIS Online. And they can be in one or more of those groups that are defined.
When you post something, you post it on both groups or one group. So if you want to have both groups have access to a specific map or layer or something, how do you do it? What is the map to
Yes, so you inquired about access. Basically, access to different hosted feature layers is taken care of by sharing that information to one or more groups within the ArcGIS Online organization. Thank you. Yes? So you inquired about offline connectivity. That's an area that we're just now getting into. Our map is configured where we can work in an offline environment, and we're working on testing with that now. So feel free to contact us at a later time to see how things went, and we'll make sure to document our process. Yes, ma'am? Yeah, so you inquired about prior existing data. Environmental health staff collected data utilizing Trimble GPS equipment and did data checkouts to different folders and then migrated those folders over to the GPS equipment and went out and collected data and so forth and then brought it back. And that information is all historical data that has been saved by project name as opposed to in a centralized geodatabase. So that's information that'll need to be brought over or aggregated into the new data set that we have. Another project. Yes, ma'am?
Are you storing all of your data in the cloud or locally, or are you bringing it back to the
So the question was, are we storing all of our data in the cloud with Esri or bringing it back locally? So the working data we're storing in ArcGIS Online, so hosted in the cloud, and then there is a daily copy that's brought over to our enterprise geodatabase as well. But the one that we're editing and working from is the one that's in the cloud. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.